The Palestinian Ministry of Health warned that 80% of hospitals and healthcare centers in Gaza are out of service following the Israeli attacks since October 7, 2023. The Venezuelan National Assembly will request the National Electoral Council to withdraw its invitation to the European Union observers to the upcoming presidential elections in July. And Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva denounced that the extreme right-wing spread fake news about the tragedy in Brazil and that the lack of information harms the work and assistance in Rio Grande do Sul. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Palestinian Ministry of Health warned that 80% of hospitals and healthcare centers in Gaza are out of service following the Israeli attacks since October 7, 2023. The health authority assured that the health situation in Gaza is catastrophic because there are more and more wounded every day who can't receive medical treatment or medications. The agency also said it keeps working with international health organizations to guarantee the basic medicines and medical supplies for the functioning of the hospitals. On the other hand, the health authority urged the international community to intervene urgently in the region to save the Gazan health minister. And the United Nations International Court of Justice will hold hearings on Thursday and Friday to discuss new emergency measures sought by South Africa over Israel's attacks on Rafah. The request is part of an ongoing case brought by South Africa against the Tel Aviv regime in January, accusing it of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. On Sunday, Egypt joined Turkey and Colombia informally requested to join in the case against Israel. The Prime Minister of Qatar assured that the ceasefire talks on Gaza reached an impasse after the Israeli regime's military offensive in the Rafah region. Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, he assured that the Israeli military operation in the city of Rafah in southern Gaza had caused the ceasefire negotiations with Hamas to be delayed. He also assured that Doha will continue with its efforts to resolve the situation that increases the tension in the region. Meanwhile, the spokesman for the Qatari Foreign Ministry stressed that the Tel Aviv regime has not demonstrated commitment and that the proposals they put forward are non-existent.
As we have said before, we have reassessed and re-evaluated our role in the negotiations. This was pushed by our need to evaluate the seriousness of the parties in reaching an agreement. It is clear to us that there is no roadmap towards an end to this war on the Israeli side, and that the goals they set on the ground are unrealistic. Therefore, there must be a different direction in order to reach a different result. Now we're going through a stalemate.
Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majed Al-Ansari said that the Israeli side is not committed to a ceasefire in Gaza.
Suffering is suffering in the West Bank and Gaza. The ongoing attacks by settlers, starting from the attack on the land, the attack on farms, the attack on the ability of the land to produce life, and ending with the continuous incursions into the Blessed Alaska Mosque. If these violations show anything, they are an ongoing evidence that the Israeli party is not serious about reaching a state of peace. The failure to stop these attacks and their continuation in this way, in light of the current situation and in light of the involvement of the parties in mediation to end the war in the Gaza Strip, is undoubtedly an indication of a lack of seriousness.
In Palestine, thousands of demonstrators marched in the city of Hebron on Monday to condemn the genocide perpetrated by Israel in the Gaza Strip. The demonstration was organized by the social movement Hizb ut-Tahrir and started in front of the Al-Abrar Mosque in Hebron and headed towards the city center. The participants called on the Arab and Islamic armies to take urgent measures to save Rafah and the people of Gaza. In this regard, the spokesman of Hizb ut-Tahrir stressed that what is happening in the Gaza Strip has revived the spirit of jihad and sacrifice in the nation.
Our message today, from Hebron to the entire Islamic world, is that there is no more time to waste. It is imperative that you take action to remove these rulers and thrones and liberate Palestine immediately. After Gaza, there will be a colonization of Beirut, Damascus, Cairo, and all Muslim countries.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. The Venezuelan National Assembly will request the National Electoral Council to withdraw its invitation to the European Union observers to the upcoming presidential elections in July. The president of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, against the president of the National Electoral Council and 4 other CNE officials. Rodriguez denounced Washington and Brussels' position to maintain the coercive measures on the whole Bolivarian nation, which he said are causing the deterioration of the living conditions of millions of Venezuelans.
Therefore, I believe that we have to stand up and the National Assembly together with the people of Venezuela and denounce these barbarians, these scoundrels, and send a proposal to the National Electoral Council with the agreement of this entire National Assembly to cancel the invitation issued to the European Union's Electoral Observatory Mission.
Also in Venezuela, hundreds of workers gathered to collect signatures in rejection of the sanctions imposed by the United States government. Under the slogan, "Biden, lift the blockade now," citizens went to Plaza Bolívar in the city of Caracas to demand the definitive lifting of the unilateral coercive measures imposed by Washington. During the day, workers reiterated their support to the administration of President Nicolás Maduro. It should be noted that these mobilizations have been registered throughout the national territory, where citizens take to the streets to express their rejection against the United States. The first vice president of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, called the European Union disrespectful for lifting sanctions only against the Venezuelan National Electoral Council.
Congress of the Youth, for you to see the rudeness of the wrongly named European Union, the lack of respect to the people of Venezuela, the lack of respect to the powers of the Venezuelan established in the Constitution, they said they're not going to lift these sanctions while the elections are being held. Do not be ridiculous. We don't need you to lift sanctions against us. We have shown you that in spite of the sanctions, we have come out ahead. And we will continue to come out ahead. You're ridiculous, very ridiculous. You have a colonialist mindset. You think you own the world.
The Mexican government will challenge the house arrest granted to military personnel related to the Ayotzinapa case. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador assured that the decision to... Welcome back. The Venezuelan National Assembly will request the National Electoral Council to withdraw its invitation to the European Union observers to the upcoming presidential elections in July. The president of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, against the president of the National Electoral Council and 4 other CNE officials. Rodriguez denounced Washington and Brussels' position to maintain the coercive measures on the whole Bolivarian nation, which he said are causing the deterioration of the living conditions of millions of Venezuelans.
Therefore, I believe that we have to stand up and the National Assembly together with the people of Venezuela and denounce these barbarians, these scoundrels, and send a proposal to the National Electoral Council with the agreement of this entire National Assembly to cancel the invitation issued to the European Union's Electoral Observatory Mission.
Also in Venezuela, hundreds of workers gathered to collect signatures in rejection of the sanctions imposed by the United States government. Under the slogan, "Biden, lift the blockade now," citizens went to Plaza Bolívar in the city of Caracas to demand the definitive lifting of the unilateral coercive measures imposed by Washington. During the day, workers reiterated their support to the administration of President Nicolás Maduro. It should be noted that these mobilizations have been registered throughout the national territory, where citizens take to the streets to express their rejection against the United States. The first vice president of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, called the European Union disrespectful for lifting sanctions only against the Venezuelan National Electoral Council.
Congress of the Youth, for you to see the rudeness of the wrongly named European Union, the lack of respect to the people of Venezuela, the lack of respect to the powers of the Venezuelan established in the Constitution, they said they're not going to lift these sanctions while the elections are being held. Do not be ridiculous. We don't need you to lift sanctions against us. We have shown you that in spite of the sanctions, we have come out ahead. And we will continue to come out ahead. You're ridiculous, very ridiculous. You have a colonialist mindset. You think you own the world.
The Mexican government will challenge the house arrest granted to military personnel related to the Ayotzinapa case. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador assured that the decision to grant a precautionary measure to the 8 military personnel corresponds exclusively to the judicial power, since his government does not defend anyone related to crimes. The Mexican president also rejected the protest of May 13th in the capital, where alleged students of the Ayotzinapa teacher training college threw firecrackers at police officers, leaving around 26 of them injured. The head of state denounced the attempts of opposition sectors to blame the government for decisions made by the judiciary seeking to attack the executive. In Peru, parliamentarians from the Democratic Change Together for Peru party presented this Tuesday in the National Congress a new motion of vacancy against the appointed President Dina Boluarte. Congressmen presented the document to the press and assured that the written arguments sustain the vacancy against national leader due to the permanent moral incapacity. The congressmen who support this motion consider that the head of state should personally go to the Congress instead of sending a legal representative. Meanwhile, other legislative benches are also preparing vacancy motions with different arguments, which could lead to a broad and complex debate in the Peruvian parliament. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva denounced that the extreme right wing spread fake news about the tragedy in Brazil and that the lack of information harms the work and assistance in Rio Grande do Sul. Some media reported that at least 20 fake news circulated 2 weeks after the beginning of heavy rains in the Brazilian state of Rio Grande do Sul and were spread by politicians and artists linked today to the extreme right. The son of former President Jair Bolsonaro said President Lula da Silva only took measures 4 days after the rains began. Other opposition politicians also spread some false information about alleged detentions of trucks and forecasts to cope with the situation. In this context, the president of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, posted the following on the social network X. Fake news and misinformation harm those who are working and those who need assistance in Rio Grande do Sul. Share the truth. The president of the new BRICS Development Bank, Dilma Rousseff, announced that the entity will allocate funds to rebuild urban and rural areas affected by the floods in Rio Grande do Sul.
The new development bank, the BRICS Bank, is at the side of the Gaucho people. I want to announce that we are going to allocate $1,115 million, the equivalent of approximately 5,750 million reals, in resources from the new development bank to help the state of Rio Grande do Sul and the Gauchos who adopted me more than 50 years ago. To overcome this tragedy, I want to reiterate my solidarity with the Gauchos and the federal and local government. The BRICS Bank has a commitment and will act in the reconstruction and recovery of the state's infrastructure, and we want to help the people rebuild their lives.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. On Tuesday, the Russian government assured that its special operation in Ukraine aimed at demilitarization and denazification this nation with the liberation of territories continues to accomplish its goals. In this regard, Ukrainian military commanders admitted that Kyiv is facing a critical situation due to the lack of troops and ammunition, which has allowed the rapid advance of Russian forces. On the other hand, the administration of Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged that the Russian forces are enjoying a tactical victory in the north of the Kharkiv region. In this sense, Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed that they have liberated about 11 villages in the Kharkov region in the last 3 days. Russia's investigative committee opened a criminal case against Yuri Kuznetsov, head of the Defense Ministry's Human Resources Department, suspected of bribery. According to a statement issued on Tuesday, Kuznetsov received a bribe from representatives of commercial structures for certain actions in his favor. As a result, a court remanded him in custody. During searches of the official's home, cash worth more than 100 million rubles, about $1.1 million, gold coins, collector's watches, and luxury items were found and seized. Last month, Russia's Deputy Defense Minister Timur Ivanov was arrested on the same charge. In France, the city of Paris plans to make the Seine the spotlight of the 2024 Olympics with a long-term efforts to clean up the river and allow swimming events in its waters. When the French capital hosted its first Olympic Games in 1900, swimming events were held in the river. Parisians used to bathe in the Seine in past centuries until it was banned in 1923 due to pollution. Cleanup efforts that began in 2018 as part of the so-called swimming plan are paying off. At the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, athletes will inaugurate swimming in the river with the Olympic Trials, a revival that will pave the way for aquatic leisure. The Cannes Film Festival celebrates its 77th edition from 14th to 25th May, again turning the luxurious French town into the epicenter of the seventh art in the competition for the Palme d'Or.
For 12 days, more than 35,000 people from different countries around the world will attend the festival screenings and walk through the aisles of the Marché du Film. In addition to representing films with a more independent presence, the event is also the most important festival of the European film industry. The official program for Cannes 2024 has revealed new details, images, and trailers of the most anticipated films to be seen, including 19 films from the official competition. the festival's most eye-catching section. The world's most important film festival rolls out the red carpet for better-known filmmakers such as the American director Francis Ford Coppola, who will present his film Megalopolis.
Time, stop!
The film is about an ambitious science fiction story starring Adam Driver as an idealistic architect on a mission to rebuild New York after a cataclysmic disaster, whose project clashes with the wishes of the corrupt mayor played by Giancarlo Esposito. Another film in the competition for the Palme d'Or is Kinds of Kindness by Greek director Yorgos Lanthimos, in which he again directs the American Emma Stone in a triptych fable that tells three stories: that of a trapped man who tries to take control of his own life, of a policeman terrified because his wife, who had disappeared at sea, has returned and looks like someone else, and of a woman determined to find someone with a special gift, destined to become a prodigious spiritual leader.
The moment of truth. Isn't it wonderful?
This year's Cannes jury will be chaired by director Greta Gerwig, author of the hit film Barbie, who will award the top prize on May 25 to the successor of Anatomy of a Fall from French director Justin Triet, winner of last edition's honor.
In this context, protests for better working conditions also marked the start of the Cannes Film Festival. In a communiqué published on Monday, the collective Sous les Écrans, l'Ardèche, launched a strike call for all those involved in the Cannes Festival and its parallel sections due to the increase of precautionary in the sector. The aim is to protest against the tightening of the rules of access to unemployment benefits decreed by the government of French President Emmanuel Macron, which, according to the collective, leaves festival collaborators who before the reform could apply for unemployment benefits without so many obstacles defenseless. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.